talk about change in corporate America. There's been a big call for more diversity when it comes to corporate leadership and boards overall. Ron Parker knows something about that. He's the Chief Executive Officer at the Executive Leadership Council based in Alexandria, Virginia. Lucky for us, he's in our Bloomberg 1130 studio on this Thursday. Welcome to Bloomberg Radio.
Thank you, Carol. That's great to be here.
We are behind, right, when it comes to diversity, big time.
Yes, we are. About 87%, about 77% of the corporate boards of publicly traded companies are really occupied by white males. And yet we all know that 85% of the household purchasing decisions are done by females. So there's a large effort by organizations like the Executive Leadership Council and others like Catalyst.
That still blows my mind that when the statistics are out there that show that when women are involved in senior leadership positions, when they're on corporate boards, companies tend to do better financially. And yet here we are.
Yes, because you're really getting the benefit of an additional perspective to add to the conversation of strategy, investment decisions, and also the development of the talent for those organizations.
But why is this happening? I mean, is it simple to say? Is it as simple as it's sexism and racism? It's straight white guys like me running the world?
Cory, glad to meet you via the radio here. I would say, why is it happening? It's happening because we have a tendency as human beings to deal with what is most familiar with us. And when it comes to filling a board seat, which really the model is built around speed and alignment. People have a tendency to replace people or align themselves or have people around them who are quite similar to who they are.
So it's not necessarily a conscious bias. It's just a comfort level.
It's a comfort level. It's a comfort and a convenience level.
Anne-Marie Slaughter writes about this, right? You need to have more women in senior positions to bring along other women because that's what they're more comfortable or hopefully more comfortable with and kind of to build it up a little bit. I mean, I'm not doing her argument correctly, but she's just saying you need more women in senior positions if you're going to move women along the infrastructure.
Carol, you're absolutely right. Most of the board seats are filled by CEOs and C-suite executives. So if that's the pool of talent that you're going to draw from for board seats, that means you got to have a critical mass of women and underrepresented minorities to draw from.
How do we change this?
We change that by having organizations and leaders, very much like your organization, to take very bold moves and be courageous enough to go outside their comfort zones to discover the talent that exists in a number of different fields and a number of different sectors that can support the strategies of those particular organizations.
Where do we see well-meaning efforts like this go wrong? When do people try to do this and they do it in a ham-handed way?
Well, Cory, that's a very interesting piece because I think the tech sector, which is under a lot of fire these days about the lack of representation of women and people of color, as they have really made commitments for investment dollars around diversity, where it goes wrong is that if there aren't empirical data or actionable items that you can measure your progress. So we'll look up 5 years from now, and that investment of $500 million or $500,000 has really not resulted in any change in the makeup of the board because it wasn't properly discussed and invoked and engaged in a business strategy that is sustainable over time.
But again, I kind of go back to Ron. I'm just thinking about this, the chicken and the egg. What's first? I mean, if you can't get the establishment that's in corporate America to bring in either more women or people of, varying ethnic backgrounds, if you will, how do you, if you don't get someone to start it, how do you ever get real progress?
Well, we're beginning to see it. In the UK, you're looking at the 30% initiative. Now, I would say in the U.S., we are not that responsive to mandates, but you're looking at the Security and Exchange Commissioner chair saying she wants to see more transparency, Mary Jo White, in publicly traded companies and the reporting. With the dialogue, with the conversations, that drives change. And when you have very talented women, very talented minorities across all sectors, it's just a matter of giving them the exposure and the sponsorship they need to step onto these boards and do the fiduciary roles that they are responsible for doing.
Very interesting. So now explain to me your sort of role, what you're trying to do to make this happen.
Well, at the Executive Leadership Council, we are doing a number of things. We have as our mission to increase the number of black executives in global operating companies. With that, we have a corporate board initiative where we have today 75 of our members who are part of major corporations who are board ready to serve. And I'm proud to say most recently, one of our member companies was able to put two of our members, Dimitri Stockton and Sheila Talton, onto the John Deere board, which we are quite excited about. And Bank of America has two of our members on their board. So we're beginning to get traction around this issue. And James Bell just recently went onto the board of Apple. So you're beginning to see it, but in the year of 2016, the question has, how can we accelerate it? That's the issue.
You know, we've talked with Gloria Larson of Bentley University because there's an initiative up in Massachusetts. It's called the Corporate Challenge Program. I was trying to find it because I couldn't remember all the specifics. But she and I have talked about it, you know, that you've got 100 companies, some of the biggest corporate names in Massachusetts, and it's all about getting women kind of into different initiatives, higher positions, if you will, and diversifying the workforce. When you look at the political campaign trail right now, the presidential candidates that are out there, do you feel like you're hearing from them that this is kind of front and center for some of these individuals?
No, we're not. We're not hearing it being very transparently put out there because we're all about growth. At the ELC, our focus is on growth, creating value. And if all communities can participate in that growth initiative, in creating value for their respective organizations, then we feel that everybody will benefit from it. But when you don't hear that coming from either side of the party, you wonder whether or not they still get it. And oh, by the way, with digital and with technology growing and moving at the rate that it's doing, if we don't get that intellectual perspective onto these boards, there will be a lagging in our growth and our economy.
Well, I think about wages, because part of what Gloria's working on with this corporate challenge is to close the wage gap between men and women. I mean, I can see the numbers every day. There's some more stats at this. You know, the gap is wider than ever, or as wide as it's been.
And what we were encouraged about the leaders who were at Davos, they made a commitment. They put a stake in the ground that said within 5 years we will close the wage gap between men and women.
You believe that?
We need the same, but see, we have something we can hold them accountable to and for. So we can do the same types of things as it relates to boards. Then we can start to change the landscape.
Should we tie compensation to something like that?
It should be. Is my understanding here at Bloomberg. You guys have a wonderful diversity initiative that your senior leaders are very much involved in reporting out on your progress. And when you can report the numbers and the progress, you can hold leaders accountable.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of forward thinkers here. You are one of them, though. Nice to have you here on Bloomberg Radio. Thank you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Ron Parker, he's Chief Executive Officer of the Executive Leadership Council based in Alexandria, Virginia, in our Bloomberg 1130 studio. You are listening to Bloomberg Radio.